a policy that was ill-judged and poorly executed. Can I ask my right honourable friend to reject those voices calling for the United Kingdom to pull back from the United States and seek alternative alliances elsewhere? Surely the right response is to stick closely to our US friends, remind them that in the era of globalisation our economic and security interests will be threatened beyond our borders, that the United States is a force for good in the world, and greater isolationism puts us all in greater danger.
Mr. Speaker, we helped 36 countries to repatriate their nationals or those that they had helped, but we could not have done it, Mr. Speaker, had it not been for the bravery of the US military and the commitment of the US military. And I passionately agree with what he has just said about the fundamental importance of our alliance with the United States of America.
Imagine Donald Trump or Joe Biden.
The government leaving vulnerable Afghans and British nationals behind is unforgivable. But what is completely and utterly reprehensible is that the families of two of my constituents, including a 7-month-old child, were forcibly removed from flights and thrown out of Kabul airport onto the streets where the scene of the horrific suicide bombing hours before. Mr. Speaker, I am absolutely furious, and I want to ask the Prime Minister, how on earth was this potentially fatal decision allowed to happen even after I raised these matters with ministers sat to his left and his right, and how many others were ejected from the airport into harm's way, and just what does he have to say to the families that the government has now put in grave danger?
I thank him very much, Mr. Speaker, for raising the case. I have to tell him that I'm told we have no evidence of anybody being pulled off flights, but I would ask him, obviously, Mr. Speaker, I would ask him to raise it with, raise the particular cases directly with my right honourable friends beside me. But I can tell him, I think that when he looks at the overall record of the UK moving people out of Kabul and across the whole of Afghanistan, it was an astonishing feat.
Mr.
Speaker, I thank my right honourable friend for his statement. Can I ask whether or not he's noticed that the Chinese government, since our departure from Afghanistan, has used Afghanistan to up its threats on Taiwan with hundreds of overflights, threatening them and telling them when the war comes, the US will not be there to support them. Could my right honourable friend take this opportunity from the dispatch box to say to the Taiwanese and others, we fully support their right to democracy, self-determination, and we will be there to support them no matter what the Chinese say, and could we persuade the Americans to do the same?
Mr. Speaker, I thank my right honourable friend, and I'm of course aware of the continuing issues between the People's Republic of China and Taiwan, and I've discussed that indeed recently with the President of the United States, and it's one of the reasons why it's absolutely vital that this country continues to insist on the primacy of our relationship with the United States, and the situation in Taiwan will continue to be difficult, and the House should understand it will. The only answer, the only way forward, is to continue to support American global leadership, and that is what we will do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Prime Minister knows, NGOs such as the excellent Kent Refugee Action Network provide vital support to those fleeing from conflict, and as he mentioned, that's via fundraising. But does he also acknowledge that the state has a duty of care regarding the mental health of traumatised refugees, including children? And if he does, how can he assure the House that this will be possible, given that the average wait for young people waiting just a basic mental health assessment is on average 2 to 3 years currently?
I thank her, but I can tell her that the government is absolutely determined to look after people coming from Afghanistan, and in particular look after their mental health or the trauma that they have suffered, and that's why we are investing massively in the services that are being provided not just by CLG but by local government across the board.
can I ask the Prime Minister, please, what extra funds are going to be made available for local councils and schools like the Derbyshire Dales District Council, who urgently want to help but want to make sure there are additional funds available?
I thank Derbyshire Dales District Council for stepping up, Mr. Speaker, and yes, of course, we will make sure that the funds are available. She should make representations to my honourable friend, Member for Louth and Horncastle.
Withdrawal.